Hey, so today I thought I would do a fun video just recounting some of what I believe are the main fuckboy cards in tarot. Again, this is definitely not all of them, and different cards and different readings and situations can absolutely imply, emotionally manipulative behavior and other stuff like that. But I did definitely want to just go through the major ones that usually come through when I'm giving readings. About those kinds of situations. So anyone who knows a little bit of tarot, there are what we call the major arcana cards. There's 22 of those, and those kind of represent the archetypes in tarot. It's different very, very strong energies that people will embody at different points along their soul journey. And then there are also the court cards. Those are kind of like the pages, knights, queens, and kings of a deck. And those come in each of the four suits, being cups, swords, pentacles, and wands. And again, of course, all of this stuff can vary depending on the deck that you're using. But yeah, and then of course there are the minor arcana cards. And so if it's not a major arcana card, not a court card, then it falls into the minor arcana category. So again, I am going to go through, I've pulled around 20-ish cards that I feel are the most suggestive of someone just, not acting in the best behavior and to be mindful for if you choose to pull tarot for yourself or get a reading with someone, myself, maybe one day. But yeah, so again, I kind of broke this down to these are going to be court cards and major arcana, and then this one's kind of some of the more minor arcana cards to be aware of. So no particular order, I kind of just randomly pulled these. Generally, though, what I will say, the pages, and specifically the Page of Swords and the Page of Cups, right? Hate to see these cards in a reading, frankly, because this is manipulative, emotional manipulation, especially the Page of Swords, which is all about communication. Tend to see a lot of gaslighting energy with this one. Again, this is someone playing games, definitely, emotionally, attraction, stuff like that. But, as I always say all the time, queens don't date pages. Queen is kind of the higher vibration, especially Queen of Cups, for example, and especially when it's not reversed. But so for a queen or an empress, whatever, to be engaging with page energy, it's a very, strong imbalance in that connection there. So especially when these are reversed, hate to see that. Generally almost any card in the reverse is going to have a little bit lower vibration than the upright, but it always is contextual, and depending on what the reader, how they're choosing to pull their cards, that might vary. But definitely wanted to get those out. Then when we move up to the knights, the two knights, and again, it does kind of change, but I would say the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Cups, two of the biggest knights to be wary of because knight energy in tarot, it tends to be about someone who is taking action, who is going after what they want. They do have a goal or a motive, so not always a terrible energy, but at the same time, Knight of Wands is very fleeting energy, a little bit focused on what are my immediate needs, what am I getting at the moment right now. Kind of similar energy with the Knight of Cups. Again, Knight of Cups is really leading with emotion, heart, but again, it can be a little bit, what do I want today? Not so much looking what is going to be good for me long term, what is good for the other person, So, and again, once again, when these are reversed, can have even more, just kind of not so great energy behind it. But yeah, I would say, as I said, the Knight of Cups and Knight of Wands are the two knights to really be looking out for in a reading. Then moving up to the kings, again, in the upright position, a King of Wands, a King of Swords is actually pretty decent. And I really say, if you're in a connection with someone who's coming through in knight energy, that's usually very positive. But again, when I see these reversed, a King of Wands reversed, that's very stubborn, very selfish, again, kind of manipulative, I would say, really only seeking what they want out of a situation. And again, leading from more fire energy as opposed to kind of heart energy. So that one is a red flag. And again, I hate to see reverse King of Swords because this is probably the most, after the Magician, which I'm going to get to in a second, King of Swords, again, very, very skilled in communication, mind games, right? Will really know how to kind of be constantly calculating a situation with someone trying to, figure out what can I do to have the upper hand, and again, really not in that heart energy, a lot more in that kind of like mental, like what is good for me, strategic energy. So definitely be wary of that. So then we move on to some of the major arcana cards that I would say are, some red flags. So definitely a reversed Emperor, and I really specify reversed for the most part. Well, there is one situation where I would say other to be wary, but again, reversed Emperor, again, someone who thinks they're an Emperor usually, again, in Aries energy in the zodiac, and so again, kind of immature, kind of like what's good for me, definitely power games, doesn't want to be humbled, but probably needs to be in some capacity, right? Coming through in reversed. Upright, again, I actually say this is one of the better cards to get if you're in, doing a love reading. But I will say sometimes it can imply being married, right? It could imply that your person is in a very, serious other connection, so again, not always, and it really depends, and make sure you have a reader you trust who can kind of discern that nuance there. But as I said, reversed Emperor, not a great energy. Magician, again, in the upright, even in the upright, be careful, right? Because again, this archetype is known for really good communication mastery, a little bit pulling the wool over your eyes sometimes. There's literally the symbolism on the card. It's like his wand is broken, he has an empty cup, he's not really working with everything he might, proclaim to be working with, if you know what I mean. But especially reversed magician, it's a pretty low vibrational dark energy, I've got to say, the more I, connect with people and do readings on this kind of stuff. Because as I said, this person is really using their manipulation, their, power dynamics to try to get what they want, and again, communication, lots of lying, deceit tend to come through with this. So definitely good to be wary of that. I have the Fool. And again, it really depends on the situation with this one, because sometimes it's great to see the Fool, where it's like this is someone who's really excited and happy and like wants to bring you flowers and wants to kind of like, they're just in a state of really being optimistic and happy, but at the same time, they're kind of about to walk off a cliff here, and so in this energy, just be careful. Like I said, this person is probably not thinking too long term, maybe hasn't weighed all the consequences of, getting involved emotionally with someone else. So if they come through, kind of in that energy, it's just, is this the best partner for marriage, for example? I don't know. Probably not. And then finally, the Hanged Man. Again, depends very much on the situation, but this can really imply someone who knows they need to take action but chooses not to, right? Is kind of playing games. This is, in this card, the water element actually is represented by this card, and water, while it can be great in certain ways, it can also be very kind of hard to, finagle. It's a very mutable kind of energy. So again, this person is gonna do what they want to do, and it's gonna be very hard to kind of get them to, unhang themselves from that situation if they don't want to, right? It kind of is like them holding a lot of the power. So I've just, in my energy, it can also represent Pisces energy too. Again, it is technically the water element, but it's a strong correlation with Pisces, and we all know about Pisces men specifically. So that's definitely one to be wary of. So then moving on to the minor arcana cards. Again, this is non-exhaustive. There's probably more. Oh, actually, you know what? There were 3 other major arcana, so I'm going to start with those first. Okay, so the Tower, kind of self-explanatory. And again, this isn't just about, fuckboy, or really. This is more kind of like something's already gone down in a situation with a fuckboy and someone who really, I don't know, something, came out. There was an exposed lie. They really messed you up in some situation, right? And again, I usually say it kind of messes them up too. There are 2 people falling out of this building, so if it was a tower moment for you, in some way it was a tower moment for them too, But yeah, this card tends to come out in really toxic, connections, that I've given readings about. Devil, of course, could not do this video without this card. You know, it's very self-explanatory. You know, we all embody devil energy at some point in our life. You know, it's funny how much this card scares people, especially people who, you know, are very religious. And again, I have, you know, many family members and all of that who are very religious and would hate that I would even be holding up a card like this, you know. But again, it's like the more readings I do, the more I, you know, talk to people about spirituality and stuff. Devil energy is just something that all of us will come face to face with in our life, whether it's through another person, whether it's through ourself. You know, there are two people chained to each other in this card. So if you have caught feelings or an attachment to someone who's embodying kind of fuckboy energy, it's really you learning to overcome your own issues, you know, a lot of times that keep you in that situation, making you feel like you need to go back to that person or you can't, you know, break up or whatever it is, you know. Again, the reverse of this card is generally way worse than upright, you know, but it's situational, represented by Capricorn energy, you know, and so yeah, it's just kind of like, if you can allow yourself to break free from a connection like this that's coming through devil energy, that's the best. It can also mean contracts and marriage, funny enough, but again, in this situation with regard to this video, it's more of a low vibration. Strength in the reverse, I gotta say, this will come through often when, again, there's like power play or, you know, power struggles rather. You know, there's just something about strength energy that, and it is a Leo card in astrology. So ideally, if you're engaging, especially with a masculine energy who's kind of coming through in the reversed, just recognize that they're probably not in their most mature energy. They're not going to be able to be kind of, you know, humbled or willing to kind of, you know, humble themselves rather for you. Okay, so minor arcana, Three of Swords, obviously. This is third party stuff. This is, you know, bad communication. They coming through with unprocessed feelings. Again, I tend to pull this card more for the person on the receiving end of, you know, a fuckboy situation, which would make sense, right? But regardless, recognize that if you're kind of in that energy, the person you're connecting with is probably also in this energy. So they probably have a lot of feelings and emotions they haven't processed themselves. Under active heart chakra for sure, or blocked off, you know, so that's a strong one there. The Four of Pentacles, this is known by many readers as kind of like the pre-emperor card. You know, it's someone who's trying to be stable, trying to come off like they're all, you know, abundant and got their stuff together, but there's a lot of, you know, trying to become that rather than actually being that, I would say, right? It's like they're still kind of juggling this pentacle on their head. It's kind of blocked off at the heart once again with this energy, you know. And probably just kind of like bored in their own life. And I don't know, as I say, it's like this is just not an ideal energy for, you know, again, especially if you are more feminine energy, you know, in more heterosexual relationships, you know, where your masculine wants to come off as very stable and empowered. You know, if they're kind of in this energy, they're just really not living up to their potential, I'd say, you know, so that can be a little bit of a flag. Similarly, we have the Four of Cups, which, you know, again, is kind of the apathy card. It's kind of someone who knows they could, you know, pursue or take different actions or whatever, but also they have these options in the front, you know, that they're thinking about. They are kind of blocked off at the heart with their arms across their legs. So, you know, again, when this energy comes through, I'm kind of just like, this isn't someone who's putting in the effort to make you feel wanted generally, you know, so it's just, I don't like to encourage, you know, going after pursuing someone coming through in that energy. Five of Pentacles, this is often in, you know, low self-esteem, you know, being left out in the cold is kind of what a lot of tarot readers will refer to it as, you know, so again, it's like if you're connecting with someone who's in this energy, and again, many, you know, people dating, fuckboys, whatever, will also be in this energy, you're both kind of, you know, not in your best state, right? So in that case, you're generally better off breaking up, being single, you know, healing this, you know, this is lack mindset, this is what's going wrong as opposed to what's going right, you know, so just not ideal for relationships. Five of Swords, this is always cheating, betrayal, someone who's not making a decision necessarily. Again, poor communication, third-party stuff, definitely, you know. So just not a great energy by any means, seeing that one come through. Three of Cups, you know, I wish I liked this card more than I do, but it comes through all the time. It does represent a masculine with two feminine energies on either side. So it can often mean that, you know, if you are a feminine engaging with the masculine, there is another feminine energy in the picture. You know, again, it really depends on the situation. Reversed, I would say, is definitely worse than an upright in this card. So just be wary. Three of Cups. Two of Pentacles, I see a lot, right? This is someone juggling, not making a choice, not emotionally grounded, again, kind of playing some games, manipulation, right? And also kind of looks like a joker, just straight up, you know, so not a great card, frankly. And then Seven of Swords. This is a huge one. I'm surprised it's not more worn, considering how much I pull this card. But, you know, again, this is someone who is in the tarot stealing from a camp, you know, stealing all these swords. Again, left two behind because he was being kind of careless. Another, you know, undertone of, like, hasn't made a decision. Holding the Five of Swords, you know, kind of harkening back to this Five of Swords energy, right? So just red flags all around, and his face is kind of creepy too, right? So it's just, you know, Seven of Swords is notorious for not being a great card. And I'll kind of close it out with a Nine of Cups. You know, again, in a very high vibrational situation, this is someone who's very proud, impressed, you know, it has a lot to offer and sell. He's like a shopkeeper. But I've found that it can often mean secrets. It can often mean someone who's kind of, you know, just not showing all his cards, whatever, you know, they are. So it's just kind of, like I said, something to be aware of, how that can come through. So yeah, again, that's kind of what I wanted to share, just as far as what I've found to be some cards to really steer clear of and be aware of, if you're, you know, in a connection and just, you know, want to be aware of what you're dating. So feel free to leave any comments, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you.